Hi, this is Karen from Quiet Mountain Wellness. And today I want to talk about something that I think most of us are starving for, and we don't even know it. And what that thing is reflection. Our world is going so fast that it's all we can do to keep up, to run full tilt. And we're barely getting sleep, let alone stopping to reflect on things, right? That seems very old-fashioned, and it seems really kind of unnecessary, or that there just is no space for it in the way that we live in the modern world. The problem is, by not reflecting, we are losing out on some of the things that we don't even realize. So many people now are chasing a life that they're trying to find and create. What is my purpose? What is the meaning of my life? Why do I feel stuck? Why can't I create the things that I want in my life? Well, it's hard to do that when you're just only looking forward and running full tilt, trying to take more in than is even possible in the human body. I mean, we are just overloading ourselves in so many ways. And we're seeing really what the effects of that are through mental illness, depression, anxiety, and so many illnesses that are happening in our culture that weren't happening before. So I want to just give you some examples, and I'd love for you just to, dare I say, reflect on them. And hopefully they will. Actually, I don't even want to say hopefully. I'm going to say that I trustfully believe that if you consider this information and find ways to apply it to your life, that you will actually find greater meaning and greater joy in each and every day, or at least in each time that you use reflection. It is an amazing tool. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you went on a camping trip, a 2-week camping trip. And while you were there, you found an amazing place to hike, a beautiful hike. And it was everything that you love about being outdoors, surrounded by nature. Maybe there's some little streams going through, beautiful trees, and just enjoying nature. So you take this hike, and walking that hike, you notice things of beauty. You notice things that are unique. You notice things. Maybe there's a tree that's fallen, but that's created a really interesting shape over the course of time or something while it's kind of just fallen down on the earth. So these are things that you pick up while you are walking. Well, let's say you love that trail and you decide, I'm going to walk on this trail again later today. So you do. You get on that trail and walk it again. Now, what you're going to notice, things like the things you noticed earlier, right? You'll see those same things. Oh, yes, I remember that. Oh, yes, I remember that, right? So you're starting to develop things that are familiar on this trail. Now, the more you walk this trail, it's very likely the less you will be focused on the same things that you did on the first time you walked it, because those things now have become familiar. And when things are familiar to us, we generally don't give them as much attention as the things that are new. Partly because our brain, our consciousness wants to expand and learn more. You know, that's definitely one reason. But honestly, when you look at walking and when you look at taking things in, a part of it is safety and security. A part of it is wanting to expand. So we kind of balance that with the familiar being a little bit more safe, or like we don't have to keep checking back on that, whereas the new maybe is a little bit more exciting. So let's just say you continue to walk for your 2-week trip on this beautiful trail and you just love it so much you can't get enough of it. So you decide you're going to come back next year. So next year, it's, maybe getting closer to you leaving, you're getting excited about the trip. But during that year of your life, you've had a year's worth of life experience. Let's say some of the experiences that you had maybe you weren't so great. Maybe you were hospitalized. Maybe you were ill for a while. Maybe there's some things that happened to you in your life that really challenged you, but you have now overcome those challenges. So now you come back to the campground and you decide to take your walk again, and you're walking that same trail. And what do you see? What you're going to see is going to hit you differently. Number one, if you've had health challenges and then you're back doing something that you love, you're going to be grateful for that. You're just going to be happy that you can be on that trail and seeing everything again, and it's just going to feel so good. So you will have just a greater appreciation of being on that trail because of what you've already been through. So life experience changes our familiar when we go back and revisit it, when we reflect on what is familiar. And it doesn't matter really where you enter that trail while you're on the trail. What's familiar is familiar, what's new is new. But when you come back with a little bit of a greater understanding about the changes that the park has gone through, the changes that you've gone through, how life moves, and how fortunate you are to be back and to be walking on this trail again. All of this is, it just hits you differently. What it does is bring you greater understanding, greater appreciation. And this appreciation really almost has a bit of a sentimentality to it, because you know that you're fortunate. And when you come back and see this, it just feels really good. So this is one aspect of it. Think about when someone gives you a greeting card, maybe for your birthday, maybe an anniversary, and they write a little note or something in it, or the card is really beautiful and it touches you in that moment, or it's really funny or something. Well, let's say at your next birthday, that same person maybe has passed away, but you saved the card and you look at that card again and it means so much more, right? This is the power of reflection. Now, let's talk a minute about children. How many times, if you have young children, no, don't even answer how many times, because the number I think is probably infinite, or it feels that way anyway. But when you have young children, they ask you as parents, do you love me? Do you love me, Mom? Do you love me, Dad? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? How many times they ask that question, and we answer it lovingly and say, well, of course I love you. I love you so much. I love you from, to the moon and back, whatever it is. And so, but there does come a time when those same children stop asking if we love them or not. Now, let's say that child maybe is in middle school, and maybe there's a problem at school. Maybe something happened that requires parental, intervention, or at least interceding for your child as a parent. Well, if things work out well and your child comes away feeling like, that worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Because of course we can't expect children to have the maturity or the coping skills that we do as adults. So when we step in and help them out, they appreciate that. Now, maybe they say something like, oh, wow, thanks, Mom, for helping me out on that. I really appreciate it. But what they're really, behind that, there is love and appreciation for you, whether or not they say it. But then maybe you respond and say, well, of course I'm going to help you. I love you. Why would I not? And then when the child hears that you love them again, that hits different than it did when they were 3 and 4 and asking you all the time, do you love me? Do you love me? Now it's like, oh, so love is this too. Love is something else. Love is more. Love is taking action. Love is standing up for, being dedicated to. There's a lot of different ways that you can spin it, but you get the idea. So the child then can start to see that it's more, right? It's more than just words. And that is a way to reflect on their experience and have it create more meaning. So life experience, when we can use it as something to frame on top of what was familiar to us, it often can create a different meaning, a deeper meaning, and just touch us in a way that is much more powerful. Now, I know it's been that way for me when I read books on this journey of spirituality and wholeness and wellness, just learning to thrive in my life. I have read so many books, but I've also had a lot of experiences, life experience. So when I go back and look at a book that I first read, 15 years ago, and I see what I've highlighted and I see the pages that I've dog-eared, it gives me a snapshot of who I was and how I was back then. But what's really interesting is the information hasn't changed, but I've changed. So through my own life experience, when I now go back and look at that information, I can see it on a new level. And quite frankly, a lot of that information has gone from just seeing it as a perspective intellectually to then including it into my life and integrating that and making that an opportunity for greater understanding for me. And then some of these things have moved even beyond appreciation and just into knowing. They're just things that I do. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's just part of who I am. So this, though, is the power of reflection. It is an incredible tool. It is available to all of us, even though it seems like maybe it takes time or this or that. But if you think about it, as you reflect, it helps you to get to know your own self better. If you start a journey, you don't always know where you're starting. You kind of just, all of a sudden, you're on it, right? So how nice as you go along to reflect and look back and see, wow, that's where I started. Oh, okay, so that's what I was after. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was searching for. And it gives you a deeper and more complex understanding of your own self. It's kind of like reading a book on how to do brain surgery and then actually doing brain surgery. It's a completely different thing. You can intellectually understand the concepts, but yet to do it is a completely different thing. And then once you do it, then when you look back at the concepts, you have a greater understanding and appreciation for that. So, you see how this works. This is just deepening your life experience, understanding your own self. If you think about, taking a part of your life and then kind of putting over top of it your life experience. If there's some, all kinds of different things you can call it. It could be trauma, it could be, shadow material. You hear it expressed in different ways. But these things that we maybe haven't quite dealt with. Maybe we started researching or started a journey and whatnot, and then, life kind of happened, but now we have life experience that we can put over this now. And what happens? Well, when we put that over those negative things, we bring our life experience to those old things that were familiar, what we can do is actually learn from that. There's lessons in that are uniquely appropriate for us in our own lives. So not everyone gets the same lesson, but if you look, if you reflect, if you bring your life experience to those areas, you will see lessons come out if you start to look for them. And they're beautiful opportunities for you to apply something new into your life and take that descent, if you will, into that darkness. It turns it into an ascension. Because when you reflect and bring life experience to these places, you often will find that there's something quite uplifting. Even in your most challenging of times, you may find that once you are over and through it and looking back, you see the gift that's there. But if you never reflect on anything and you're just going to run forward, what are you running to? We're all running, but do we know what we're running to? Why we feel empty? Why we feel disconnected? It's this lack of reflection, it's this lack of meaning and purpose and joy and self-knowledge. most people don't even know what they need. They don't even know what they like. And it takes time to really develop the ability to know that. And that comes through reflection. So these stages of reflection, actually of knowing is first we see it. We create a perspective, an intellectual perspective that we see. And then as we move forward and get familiar with it, and then maybe come back and revisit it, we can create a new understanding. And this new understanding also can create greater appreciation. And we can stay in that space of greater appreciation for as long as we want. But, the reality is that as you do and continue to come back and revisit, you will keep moving your life up to new levels, new levels, new levels of understanding, new levels of appreciation, and new levels of knowing. And, know thyself. It's a very old adage. It's been around for a long time and it's stuck for a reason. It's important that we know who we are so that we know, what our responsibilities are in this world, and that we can take them on and accept them with joy, and that we can extract from them the meaning, the lessons that help us to live a life that just feels like it's truly ours, that really authentic life. And all of this wonderful stuff comes from just simply taking some time to reflect, to allow that depth to be experienced, bring your life experience to the things that you once enjoyed or understood in a certain way. Allow that, your conscious acceptance and understanding and intelligence to really kind of infuse these things in a way that unlocks those lessons for you, so that no matter, kind of what the circumstances are in the world, that you still know who you are, you still know what matters to you, you still know what your purpose is, you still know what brings meaning to your life, and you're continuing to come back to that over and over again, so it is an endless supply, which is a pretty beautiful thing. I trust that if you reflect on this content, that you will be able to touch those spaces in your life too, and I hope you will. Thanks so much for listening.
If you would like to learn how to build a life of higher quality choices, a life of greater resilience and optimism, a life that feels uniquely yours, at Quiet Mountain Wellness, we can help. Learn to nourish yourself on more than just one level, and learn to take your life beyond feeling full to feeling full of life. It's time to thrive, and we can help. Check the links in description for more information.